I am delighted to welcome my dear friend and colleague, Karen Hall, an inspirational, motivational speaker on the empathy advantage. She's an author, podcaster, and relationship coach. She's also the managing director of the Los Angeles Tribune Women's Journal and the Los Angeles Tribune Spanish Journal. She trained under the renowned Marian Williamson as a spiritual life coach and has been coaching, teaching, and practicing the skills of managing her emotions for over 40 years. She's the host of the Hero Within podcast, where she features inspiring true stories of unsung heroes. This podcast is ranked among the top 3% globally. Karen's book is launching soon, and she has so many amazing gifts that let's just go right into our interview. Welcome, Karen. How are you?
Oh, thank you. So good to be with you, Alana.
Likewise. So, of all these things, let's see, you're coaching and you're managing magazines for women and for the Spanish community, and you're writing books and you've got a podcast. Which one excites you the most?
Ooh, that's such a good question. The thing that excites me the most is anytime that I get to have interactions with people and watch the light bulb go off in their mind. And so sometimes when you would think that would only be when I'm coaching, but actually, even when I'm speaking and I see sometimes I see virtually where people make comments and I'm like, oh, they got it, or if I see their faces when I'm speaking, that is the thing that makes me so excited. I'm just like, yes, we connected. Connection is just really important to me. So anytime that I get to connect with somebody and being enlightened is also something that thrills me when I'm enlightened. And so if something that I can share with a listener or a reader enlightens them, just thrills me to no end.
Oh, yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Inspiring others and lifting others up. And as you were just saying that, you're on a lot of panels, a lot of summits and panel discussions where you get to see the responses from people. Yeah.
Yeah, it is so rewarding. It's just so
Mhm.
rewarding.
So, what was it like training under Marian Williamson?
Oh, it was so thrilling. I had read her book, A Return to Love, back in the late 90s. And I just devoured this book. I was trying to figure out I'm a highly sensitive person in HSP. I'm also an empath. And so I was trying to figure out how to deal with difficult emotions. If I was dealing with somebody else and we had a conflict, sometimes it would just really bother me. And anytime there's a disconnection, it really affects me. And so I was trying to figure out some unloving interactions that I was having. And I had gotten to the point where I had a lot of judgment and I was just really struggling. And so when I read her book, she talked about the Course of Miracles. And so I started reading the Course of Miracles and but it was a little heavy. So I kind of had a hard time getting into it. So I went back to the her book Return to Love, where she talks about the Course of Miracles. And one of the things that the Course of Miracles says is you can either have love or you can have a grievance. And I was like, wow, which one do I want? Do I want love or do I want the grievance? Well, I want love. And so how am I going to get back to love? And one of the keys that she teaches is to remove judgment. And so as I read her book and I applied the things, I started reading everything that she had written. I just wanted more, more, more. I was just obsessed with her. And then an opportunity came up to work with her. And I was like, really? Like talk to her? I mean, like not like a recorded thing. And they're like, nope, really, really. And I'm like, oh my word, absolutely. So I was thrilled because we talked about coaching and we talked about how to coach with her way of her style. And so then she would like watch me coach and give feedback and I could ask questions. Well, what about this situation? And she would say, well, this and then the other. And I'd be like, oh, okay. Yeah. Cause we'd talk about people that couldn't see it or obstacles, and resistance that people had to applying, the principles. So it was absolutely thrilling. I just felt so honored to get to learn from her. And just she's such an inspiration in my life.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I have several other friends, colleagues who have studied with her, or and they teach the Course of Miracles, and they're the most kind-hearted individuals. It's all about coming from your heart center. It's all love based, and which is what empathy is, right? You feel we. I'm an empath as well, and we literally feel the feelings of others. And when they're suffering, we don't want them to suffer, right? But we can't fix others. We were just having that conversation, right? We can offer the wiser choices, but in the end, they need to come from their own they need to make their own choices. Yeah, so love is the answer, as the Beatles sing over and over again.
Favorite quotes. My girlfriend told me this quote. I just thought it was so perfect. She said, "Love is the answer." Now, what was the question? I've said that so many times because it doesn't matter what the question is. Love is always the answer. So,
It really is. Yeah. And
and
just
it's
about
interesting.
every go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying it's interesting how that can be applied in different ways, though. Sometimes love is setting a boundary. Sometimes love is, being accepting. Sometimes love is saying no. There's different ways to apply love in situations, and so it may not always be like some people think love is just always saying yes and just going along and doing whatever and never having those difficult conversations. But that isn't always love. So I think
No, it's
that's
not.
interesting.
I know. Because most empaths are nurturers too. And we
Yes.
love, right? We love to take care of people. But then there's a fine line right between taking care of someone and that word I don't like, codependence. Excuse me.
Yes. And
Yeah,
also, I don't know about you, but as an empath, harmony is so important to me. I really value I value being able to see eye to eye. Even if we disagree, we can still have harmony and I can accept that you feel that way and I feel this way. And we can still love each other, and still show love to each other, even if we have different, opinions about something. It doesn't have to get,
absolutely.
ugly or something. And so
Could you imagine if we were all wearing red and that was it? I mean, how boring.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And that's so important today is to remember that we've been given this incredible gift of choice making, and we learn from, I think, our own true nature. I think I was having this conversation with my husband the other day. I think we're all born with our own personalities, and certainly in the environment we're raised in impacts us as we grow up. But in the end, do you ever look at a family of five and say, oh my gosh, that is not your sibling? Right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and and it was so interesting when I had my children because like my first child, they would, I had people tell me I was doing it wrong all the time. And then I had my second child and I did the same things and my second child was so different than my first child. Then I had my third and my fourth and each child did come with their own personality and it was so interesting that even though I parented the same way, that child still had a very unique response to me
I love
and
it.
to life, and so I thought, wow, for somebody to think that it's all related, to their environment, I don't really think it is because you can see identical twins even, how different they are. And so yeah, I do think there's a lot to personality that comes with people. And that's an interesting thing about relationships because so many times when we're interacting with somebody, we don't know all of the things beyond their past. And I remember reading this quote that said, "To know me is to love me." Well, when I really get to know somebody, if I get, sometimes I don't, but sometimes I do. I remember, having roommates at college and living with them for, 6 months or a year or whatever, and thinking, They are so unusual. And then their family would come to pick them up on the last day of school, and I'd be like, "Oh, now I see," you know? But sometimes there's people just have so much behind the scenes that we don't know about. If we knew, ah, we would have so much more understanding, and we would see things so differently. And so I find that to be a fascinating aspect, and I often ask for that in my prayers, please help me see this person the way that you do, because I believe each person is a holy being. And so if I can see them as a holy being, oh,
Yeah.
changes everything in my interactions with them.
Yeah. We all want the same thing. We all want to love and be loved.
Yes.
I don't, and it doesn't matter what the person looks like on the outside or the crimes they may have committed, whether terrible or not so terrible. In the end, we just want to be loved and to love. I
Yeah,
That's what I believe.
I believe that too.
And it's beautiful, the seeing everyone as a holy being. We're all divine. I mean, why else are we here?
Right. Right. And it's
Yeah.
so easy to forget that, and when my emotions get escalated, I forget that. And that's one of the things that has been so interesting to me is learning how to regulate my nervous system so that then I can access that empathy, because many times when I'm in a situation there where there's some kind of a conflict or a difference that's difficult, and my emotions get escalated or their emotions get escalated, and then as an empath I take that on sometimes. It's very interesting to me how the brain works and how I can't even access my prefrontal cortex. And so that's why mindfulness is so important to me, because when I do that practice every day, I can tap into that quicker than if I've had times where I just am like, I'm too busy, and I don't do it. And then I recognize, oh, I don't have that same ability to respond and be proactive versus reactive. And so that I have found that mindfulness practice to be so powerful in my life to help me in regulating my nervous system.
I love it. Yeah. It's so there are a number of things I'm hearing, and one is this release of judgment. I was in a conference I mentioned to you in New Mexico recently, and it was a blend of um, avid meditators, Buddhism, mind, philosophers, scientists, and we're talking about how we have thousands and thousands I don't know how many tens of thousands of thoughts every day, and the majority of the thoughts are negative.
Right.
And uh, and mindfulness is all about bringing awareness to your thoughts without judgment. Without,
Right.
or you don't need to continue the judgment process. And maybe just knowing that most of the world is stuck in a revolving story of judging and negativity, and to simply bring that awareness to say, well, that's not going to serve me. It's not going to serve anyone. How can I shift these thoughts to a positive thought? More
Yeah.
a happy thought, and maybe you're thinking about something someone did to you, right? Ruminating in the past or what you're worried they might do in the future. But here you are now, right? Where are you? It's beautiful out. I see the green grass and the trees, and it's nice, and I've got food, and it's
Right.
which brings me to gratitude. That's one of my favorite go-to meditations or mindfulness techniques. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I One of the things that I found so interesting about gratitude was how powerful it was to correct my thinking. Because when I am grateful, the negative thoughts don't have room to get in. And it's like a stage. You can't have both of them on the stage at the same time. One of them has to take the back seat. And so as I practiced gratitude, it changed me. And then when I read about the science of gratitude, oh my word, I was so blown away about how it activates the the centers in the brain where the serotonin is. And so we get the neural pathways are activated to where we are more social, we are more connected. And then the oxytocin is released. I'm just like, from gratitude, who knew that I could rewire my brain from negativity to overcome anxiety and depression through gratitude? But that practice, that continual practice, makes those neural pathways stronger in the brain. And I was just like, oh my word. I knew gratitude like in a gut level. I knew it was beneficial for me. But then when I learned the science, and I love neuroscience, so I was just like, wow. I just wanted to tell everybody about why gratitude was so powerful. But I felt it even before I knew all the science of it. I just felt better, and the other thing that I thought was really interesting is if I'm in a difficult situation and I think of one thing about you that I'm grateful for, like say it's you and me. And maybe the judgments, are just coming. And then I stop myself and I say, okay, what's one thing that you can think of that you're grateful for? And usually there's one thing. I can usually find one thing. And I just focus on that one thing. I'm so grateful for that thing. And pretty soon the judgments just drop. And that is the first thing usually that helps me to remember that you're a holy being is to find one thing to be grateful for about you.
Uh, wow. Can I just say that everything you just said, that's it. Everyone out there listening or watching, it's all about gratitude. Gratitude can rewire your brain. It's got all kinds of goodies, right? It taps into the, what is it, oxytocin
Yeah.
and uh, I don't know,
This is
all the good stuff in your brain. It makes you feel better. But I love this last technique. So if you're in a situation and you're live and you're with someone, whether it's a family member, a working situation, or someone at the store, at the gas station, whatever, and they're annoying you, or they've done something, or just look at them and come up with something good about them, something you're grateful for. And it could be, wow, I like the jacket. That's a great choice. It doesn't have to be deep and profound. It's just
yeah.
finding something, and that starts to melt the anger, judgment, and negativity.
Right. Yep, it does. It really does. And it's really interesting because it doesn't for me, it doesn't happen on the first time that I think that gratitude thought. It just like maybe makes a chip. So I have to keep thinking it. I have to consciously keep thinking it with intention. And as I do that with feeling, when I start, because first I don't feel as much feeling with it, but as I keep repeating it, the feeling comes into my heart. And then I see them differently. And
Mhm.
and that's another thing that Marianne Williamson would say that I just love that. She said, when you're in one of these difficult situations and you're thinking, do I want love or do I want the grievance? The question that you have to ask yourself besides that is, am I willing to see this situation differently? And that's a question that I ask myself when I feel stuck, and maybe there's angst and I just keep fighting against reality. And then I say to myself, am I willing to look at this situation differently? And when I finally can be, de-escalated enough to remember to ask myself that question, I'm like, well, yes, I want to look at it differently. And the desire to look at it differently, like, opens up all these possibilities. Well, maybe that person just had a bad day. Maybe that person didn't sleep tonight. Maybe they feel fear. Maybe they misinterpreted something about me. Maybe I'm not even aware of what's going on, in their mind or whatever. All kinds of things will come to me. And as I start to think of what possibly might be happening, to look at it differently, it's really interesting to me because my brain just starts being open instead of being
Mm,
closed. This person is wrong or whatever. I start
yeah.
to think maybe there is no wrong. Maybe they just have one view and I have one view. And how can we come back to love between us?
And that's it. It's your view. So these stories that are continually going on in our minds, it's the view. And know that you can have more than one view. You can,
Right.
yeah, it doesn't all have to be, oh, he looked at me the wrong way and therefore he's yada, yada, yada.
Yes.
No, well, he maybe looked at me because he wasn't aware and he was lost in thought.
Right.
Or, yeah, so we tend to jump to conclusions and then we exacerbate the negative story. And I truly believe that our thoughts create our realities.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if I think something negative about you, you feel that energy from me, and
Yeah.
it can't help but affect you somehow. And then our interactions change because of what I think. And I find that fascinating. I have had people that I have had difficult situations with, and sometimes I'm not even around the person, and I will talk to them because I think their soul can hear me, and time and distance has no impact on their soul. So I'll talk to them and I'll tell them, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And I'll just say all the loving things I can think of. Say we can't have a conversation, for whatever reason. And just thinking positive thoughts has changed the situation. I've worked with people that have been very difficult, and I've just thought loving thoughts while they're yelling at me. I've just thought loving thoughts towards them. I think, I love you. I don't know why you're so upset, but I love you. And you have a lovable quality about you. And I don't know what happens, but there's something I think in my eyes. I don't know, maybe there's some energy waves that go across, but it always makes a difference. The person always softens. And I just am fascinated by how that happens. But if I don't do that, if I just react, if my empath feels defensive and takes on that negative energy and reacts to that, wow, that doesn't go so well.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, it just kind of escalates in both people, which that's the other thing that fascinated me about learning to regulate my nervous system. When
Hmm.
I can be mindful and I can think those loving thoughts, I have to regulate my nervous system to be able to do that, because the first reaction is not. And the first reaction is my emotions escalate. So I have to regulate those emotions, bring myself back to being centered. And sometimes I can do that quickly, sometimes I can't. But then that's when I can tap into that love, and then we co-regulate. Because if I'm with you and you're escalated, but I'm regulating myself and my emotions are coming down, your emotions come down. That fascinates me. So it doesn't just affect me when I regulate my nervous system. I regulate everybody that I'm around.
Absolutely. That's called vibrations. Good, good, good vibrations.
That another Beatles song?
Um, no, I think that's a West Coast band way back. Yeah, okay. Go, good, 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 good vibrations. Who is that? Who is that
Oh no,
band?
but the Beach Boys, I don't know. But
I
anyway,
I think it's the Beach Boys. Yes, they had a movie out some years ago. Okay, so,
but yes, good
but it's true.
vibrations. It is true. It's really
It
true.
is true. I like to use I'm an artist, and so I love to visualize just about everything. It helps me to see clearly, right? I'm a visual learner. And so when I just listening to, I'm just visualizing like circles around you of energy waves, of sound waves, just emanating from you and moving out to others. And we're up, and it's like we're all antennas picking up on each other's thoughts and emotions.
Right.
Yeah. So I love it. Here's something I found, also a tip or something that the listeners can try out. Sometimes when I'm simply at the checkout counter and I'm waiting to check out my groceries, and I always tune into the person working there, and I use, I don't know, this kind of empathy skills, checking in with how they're feeling, and just kind of commenting, saying something nice, just saying something nice. They may, they're just working, 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 serving, serving, serving. And I think it's important to get kindness and recognition for simple tasks in the world. And whether it's that or a waiter, any kind of service oriented person, just say thank you. Have,
So true.
as they're saying thank you, have a great day, you say thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Hope you have a great day. And the more I think you're offer kindness and compassion to others, that comes back to you as well.
It does. It really does.
Yeah. So you are fully involved in managing a couple of journals. Do you want to spend a few minutes telling us what is that like and what's it all about?
Yes. So the Los Angeles Tribune has announced that they have a digital global journal. It's called the Women's Journal. And so it's for women everywhere across the world. And so it's really amazing because the Los Angeles Tribune is has a mission to have more positive news and to uplift the world. And so that's the same mission that we have at the Women's Journal with a focus on women. And when the CEO of the Los Angeles Tribune, his name is Mo Rock, he was talking about how, in the personal development world and speakers on stages and even podcasters, it is like, I don't know, 80% men and 20% women or less. It's just a very small percentage of women that are out there whose voices are being heard, which is so amazing that you have a podcast and I have a podcast. And so we're contributing to the more women being heard. But Mo said, I want to elevate the opportunities and the platform for women to be able to shine and to be able to have a place where they can share their voice. And so that's why we started the Women's Journal. And so it's just so exciting to hear women's stories of how they are serving in the world, how they are heart-centered, and how they are making a difference in everyday life. And so our first issue will launch in June, and we have a mastermind that we meet once a month with Mary Glorfield, who is the producer of Tony Robbins on stage for 18 years. And Michael Silvers is also the business director for the Los Angeles Tribune. So he's involved with the Women's Journal. And then we have the Spanish Journal. And so that's for the Spanish community. And so the same thing, people that are uplifting the world in the Spanish community and how they are doing that and how we can celebrate goodness and promote more goodness in the world.
I am so grateful. I am so very grateful for you for taking this on and using your compassionate, conscious leadership skills, as well as your excellent writing skills. And yes, to the Los Angeles Tribune, Mo Rock, Mary, everyone involved, Michael, for creating an effort to support not only women, creating a forum for women to share their voices and to support one another, but for the positive impact, positive news.
Yes.
Let's hear some positive news. Let's hear a lot of it and start shifting the story of what's going on in the media. It's not all dark and dismal. It's not fear-based.
Yes.
Let's trust that we're all good people. And like you said, we're all holy beings. We're here for the same reason, to love and be loved. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. It is awesome, and it's so inspiring when I read the stories, of the women, and I hear like, sometimes I think, "Well, maybe I know a little bit about this person." I'm like, "Wow, there's so many amazing things that they're doing," and so it uplifts me every time, every interaction that I have, even with women that are just considering it, just learning about them and why they're interested in being a part of it. And then there's the podcast network, where we're Alana and I are both part of that with Michael Silvers and Sandy Scarlatta. And so we're promoting positive news in our podcasts as well. And so I feel like we're on this kind of this grassroots swell that's just growing and growing and we're I feel like I'm in the ocean and I'm paddling and I this wave is behind me and I'm trying to catch the wave.
Yeah,
And so it's kind of fun to be on the ground swell of this exciting movement.
it's a startup. Yeah, it's
Yes.
a startup. Yeah, I love it. I love entrepreneurial endeavors, especially ventures that are upbeat and support everyone, really. It's a win-win all the way around. So,
Right.
so your first issue comes out soon because what's today? No, not yet, but in a few days, we're in June.
Yes, we are. Yes, it'll probably be the end of June, maybe the 1st of July. I'm not exactly
I
sure,
love
but
it.
yeah, it's coming in about a month or 2. So yeah, we're
And
very
and all
excited.
of and all of the journalists, the women authors or the Spanish community, they're coached by Mary Glorfield?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Bonus.
And Michael, right, and Michael
And
Silvers.
Michael. Wow, Michael
Yes,
Silvers, that's incredible. So they are 2 key players in Tony Robbins' world.
exactly, and then we
That's
give
really
those,
cool.
in addition to giving them the opportunity to have their article in print, which goes global, they also are given the opportunity to speak, and so they spoke at Leadership
Oh,
Week with the Los Angeles Tribune,
oh my
and
goodness.
they'll be speaking at other events, and so it is an amazing opportunity for oftentimes marginalized populations, to
Yeah,
be able to have their voice heard and to be heard across the world.
terrific. That's really great. Um, so how can listeners find you? Where would you send them? Because you've got your podcast and LinkedIn page, you've got your coaching and the journal. Tell everyone how they can reach you.
Yeah, the best place is probably LinkedIn. They could go to LinkedIn and just send me a message. It's just Karen Hall, and I mean, I don't know. There's probably more Karen Halls than just me, but I know there's a lot of them in the world. But mine just says, Los Angeles Tribune and the Hero Within podcast. They could email me, KarenHallCoaching@gmail.com. I have a website, but it's under construction. And so they could go there. It's KarenHallCoaching.com. But and it has a free gift if they want to access that there.
Oh,
But
goody.
it's
What's your free gift, Karen?
so my free gift is the 5-step guide to go from conflict to connection. And so it talks a lot about the things that you and I just talked about, just in a little bit more detail.
Terrific. I'm going to download my copy.
Okay. Yes, my website is in a creation in progress, and so it's not quite finished, but it's getting there.
Yeah, because I don't think you're doing enough, Karen.
Thank you, Alana.
Any last words?
One of my favorite mantras that came to me after reading Return to Love, and I felt this as I was praying about how to deal with some difficult situations in my life. And the question, because I've told you a couple of questions that I use, but one of the most important questions that I ask is, what would love do? And when I'm in one of those really difficult situations, and that question, and I remember that question, that helps me so much to put things in perspective about me and about what I can control and what I can do and how I can come from a place of love. And then, like I was saying, I can send out that loving energy in vibrations or in thoughts or actions, and words. And so that's made all the difference in my life.
Oh, how can I come from love? Or say it again one more
I,
time.
I say, what would love do?
What would love do? Oh, that's so sweet. I love it.
It helps me a lot to get back to love, and even asking that question helps me to emotionally regulate my nervous system too.
Terrific. Thank you, Karen, very much. And everyone listening and watching, big thank you to bringing more love and compassion and empathy into your lives. Um, Gratitude, mindfulness. How do you come from a place of love? What would love do? If you want to learn more about Karen, please check her out on LinkedIn, Karen Hall. She's the queen of empathy and host of the podcast Hero Within. I'm Alana Cahoon. You can visit me at alanacahoon.com. Lots of free resources and information on meditation, mindfulness, balance, harmony, love, yada. Keep going. It's all there.
Alana, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you. And thank you for your abundance, your abundant mentality, the abundant energy that you have, the love that you share. I just appreciate it so much. And the abundance that you provide to others because of your love.
Thank you.